Go back out to North Ridgeville right now at the Liston Funeral Home where the procession is about to start. Annabelle Childers there on the scene. What can you tell us?
Well, the procession is beginning right now, it appears, and I want to step out so that you can see what we're seeing here at the Liston Funeral Home. We just watched multiple officers on their motorcycles leave. Just to give you a lay of the land here, the First Congressional Church is right next to the funeral home, so that's where those motorcyclists just pulled out. But we are also seeing a large police presence in the funeral home, which is that building to the right of it. And we have seen, as Candace was saying earlier, lots of people come out and show their support. I was just speaking earlier this morning with three sisters who say that their nephew is in the Lorain Police Department. He works there, and they were talking about just the massive emotional impact and the weight that the entire city and community is carrying. So people just want to be here. They want to be here to show their support. Right now, it's very quiet. I see one woman holding her hand over her heart. We're seeing people hold flags, wave them, while there are also flags lining Center Ridge Road for this procession route. We are seeing some SUVs that appear to be about to leave this church parking lot, and then it looks like the hearse will be pulling out of one of the driveways of the Liston Funeral Home, but we expect that to happen very, very soon.
Annabelle, you said something, Candace Hare had mentioned that usually is a very busy area, but on today, there is a touching stillness around everyone, a quietness, if you will, as they are honoring Officer Phillip Wagner. And it is so good to see people coming out today to show their genuine support of not just Officer Wagner, but the whole police department.
Absolutely. It is just very emotional, and you're seeing right now that officers are now pulling out of the Liston Funeral Home. You can see the Lorain Police SWAT vehicle. They seem to be lining up so that they can all move as one down Center Ridge Road. Traffic has completely stopped, and we are seeing definitely a somberness and stillness as people try to respectfully just watch and support this police department.
All right, Annabelle Childers, as we see the procession starting to begin, we're leaving the funeral home and people lining the streets, Russ, as you were saying, and have been coming out since this all happened.
Right, about 5:30 this morning, I believe, people started lining up, and you're going to see that throughout the route this morning.
Right. Yeah.
130 members of the Lorain Police Department will be there to pay their final respects today. Other police departments covering for Lorain this morning.
That is correct. And joining us here in the studio is Sergeant Todd Vogler. Sergeant Vogler has been in law enforcement since 1996. Sergeant, thanks for coming in today.
It's my pleasure, sir.
We appreciate it. As we watch this right now, just kind of give us an idea of how important it is for police officers to come out on a day like this to support their fallen brother.
Well, when an officer dies, it's just not that officer. Part of society dies. And so we come together in solidarity to show respect, not just to the department, but more importantly to the family. I think that really only the family truly understands the immense sacrifice that has been paid to ensure that our society moves forward in a civilized manner. But the Lorain Police Department, neighboring agencies, and the family, they all are joining a very unique fraternity now in solidarity and trying to negotiate a tremendous loss, a tremendous amount of pain. And so you have organizations that step forward to try to help them out with that.
And Todd, you're from the Greater Cleveland Officer Memorial Society, and part of your mission is to make sure that these officers are not forgotten. It's not just about today, but in the days to come.
Correct. That's our promise.
Yeah.
And we do what we have to do to keep that promise. So I've talked to many members of management of different agencies. I've talked to fallen officers, the co-workers of fallen officers, and siblings and wives and mothers. And although their concerns may differ slightly, the one common thread that has been consistent is they want to make sure that their cousin, their brother, their father, their sister, whatever, the fallen is not forgotten. And so the Greater Cleveland Police Officers Memorial Society, that is our mission, and we do not fail at it.
From North Ridgeville, where they're at, to downtown Cleveland, looking at about 18 miles, somewhere in that range. And as we continue to watch here, Todd, unfortunately we've covered and you've seen far too many funerals for officers killed in the line of duty. What support do you offer the families and fellow officers?
So first and foremost, I don't think you have to have a PhD in psychiatry to help somebody through the grieving process. But we've partnershiped with Cornerstone of Hope. It's a counseling service that specializes in the grieving process. They would come in if there's a shooting at your workplace. They would come and provide counseling for that. We make sure that their officers at Lorain will know about Cornerstone of Hope, make sure that the family knows about them. We make sure that we go to every gravesite during Police Week and put a marker on each gravesite. We go forth and touch base with them, make sure that they are participatory with knowing that somebody does care.
As we continue to watch the procession here as it heads toward Rocket Arena, Sergeant Vogler, let me ask you, we talked about this, and as we see this parade, if you will, this escort of the body of Officer Wagner headed to downtown Cleveland. We hear, and as Danita and Dave, you were saying, there will be moments of silence along the route where people just stop and pay their respects. But Sergeant Vogler, let me ask you this, and we've talked about this a bit. 130 police officers work in Lorain. What is it like for a police department? What do they go through after something like this happens?
There will be a pivotal change in behavior. There will be a pivotal change on behalf of management. There will be a significant change in patrol tactics. It will be part of a learning process, not just for Lorain, but for that whole area. So Lorain is deeply hurt by this, I'm sure. But neighboring agencies are also going to be tremendously affected by this loss. So right now, everyone's busy. Right? And there's somebody walking up to somebody saying, do you want rounded edges on the casket or do you want square? Do you like these flowers or these flowers? Right now, everyone's very busy. In the very near future, things will become a lot more quiet and things will become silent. And you'll see a level of pain that's presented to those officers that work there.
And is there an atmosphere in that moment, I want us to stay right there, where officers feel comfortable, I need some help. I need some help processing this. I need some help in getting my mind around this.
You know, it's very interesting because when I got into law enforcement 30 years ago, that was not encouraged. Was not encouraged at all. And we saw a tremendous change in belief structure from departments, and the state of Ohio has actually changed their attitude where they're worried about officers' mental health.
Yeah.
And so there's no doubt in my mind that the management of Lorain will be talking probably to every officer saying, do you want help? Do you need help? 30 years, 20 years ago, even 15 years ago, that idea was there, but it wasn't pursued at all. Now it's aggressively pursued for officers' mental health.
It is needed. It is definitely needed.
They are heroes. How difficult is it for these heroes to come to work after this happens?
Well, the biggest contribution, for lack of a better term, the average officer can do is continue to go to work, to continue going to those calls, continuing the mission of serving those who served others, of continuing to carry the torch and protect those, and not forget why you got into this line of work, not forget your oath of office.
As we watch this procession right now, something different about this particular service strikes me as opposed to the services we saw for Officer Jacob Durbin in May of 2024 and Officer Jameson Ritter back on July 5th of 2024. Those services were held in a church, and there was video of the church. They allowed for those ceremonies to be televised. This is being held at Rocket Arena, a very public place. Sergeant, can you give us some insight into that at all?
So, when it's held in such a large venue, it's a good indicator of the amount of attendance that we're anticipating. And the attendance of this officer is probably significantly higher because he was ambushed. Every officer knows the next call you go to could be your last for really predominantly one of three reasons. One, you physically or emotionally were subjected to something that you can't recover from. The media turns on you. I mean, the media turns on you, you're done. Or third, because of in-house politics. This guy, he's sitting in his cruiser having a piece of pizza, and he's totally ambushed. He wasn't even afforded the opportunity of a fair fight. I mean, the bad guys, they choose when and where. They're proactive. We appreciate the fact that we're reactive. When we do a traffic stop, there's opportunities there for bad guys to hurt us. About 11% of officers are killed in line of duty during traffic stops. But when you do a traffic stop, you're trying to make that window of opportunity so narrow. This window of opportunity, because he was ambushed, he didn't have a fighting chance. So naturally, I think the law enforcement community understands that, and you're getting a reaction, which is a large attendance.
All right. Well, we're going to go now to our Lindsay Buckingham. She's standing by on Lear and Nagel Road right now. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning to you. We are on the corner of Center Ridge and Lear Nagel. That is where the procession just passed by. As you're taking a live look right now, you can see people still sort of gathered. There is the North Ridgeville Fire Department. There's also the Westlake Fire Department here earlier. I want to say we saw hundreds of law enforcement vehicles, motorcycles, and spectators that were lined up here on Center Ridge and down Lear Nagel. And we've experienced a wide range of emotions from people here today, whether it was anger about why this happened or sorrow. I talked to one gentleman who drove from Buffalo. He was in tears and he said he just wished that this would stop happening. And as people sort of disperse, it's really sad. It's solemn, and it's also something where no one wants to be here because of what it means, but everybody shows up because it's the right thing to do, to line the streets and honor a fallen hero, guys. It is a beautiful, beautiful, heartbreakingly beautiful show of respect.
And that's what is needed at this time. And one thing I just saw in the video, and something that was mentioned earlier, not just adults are out today, but children. Children, Todd, children are out witnessing this as well. What is the importance of that?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing as a parent you can teach them is to how to proceed with society without you.
Yeah.
So a parent is trying to teach. You know, there's a lot of things in our society that we really don't discuss well, and death is one of them. So I think if you have to teach your children about anything, death is probably going to be one of the cornerstones of teaching them that our time is very limited. And here you have somebody who had a family, had 3 beautiful kids, and he was taken to ensure that we can go on safely. I think that's what those parents are trying to teach those kids by seeing this procession. It's an issue of respect. You're teaching respect.
Teaching respect.
I said his SWAT, he just received, Officer Wagner had just received his SWAT pin a couple of days before this happened. How big a deal was that for him?
That's probably a long-term goal, a career endeavor of his that he probably worked on for quite some time. To an officer to attain a SWAT position is right up there with you saying, I want to have 3 kids, you know? Right. I assure you, with all the vigor that's in the constitution of my soul, that he worked diligently to achieve that goal, and he got that SWAT pin about 2 days before it occurred.
Lindsay had mentioned someone coming in from Buffalo.
Right.
And that adds to the insight that you had mentioned of how many people are truly going to be downtown today.
I would be surprised if we don't see officers from Canada. Because they come down for our parade, and we go up for their police. They have their police week is like opposite of ours, right? So we go up, the Greater Cleveland Police Officers Memorial Society, we go up there for their police week. They come down for ours. We have a very healthy relationship with them. I'd be surprised if we don't see Royal Canadian Mounted Police from Canada show up today.
Wow, that is something. It is 8:02 on this Wednesday morning, along with Dave Shadowski and Danita Harris and Sergeant Todd Vogler, Russ Mitchell in the WKYC studios. You're watching our coverage of the procession of Officer Phillip Wagner as his body is taken to Rocket Arena for a funeral service, which is set to begin at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, we're going to check in with Monica Robbins. She's standing by with more details on how the traffic is moving, what you're seeing there now, Monica.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, the traffic is no longer moving. About 10 minutes ago, you can see the Cleveland Fire Department actually shut down East 9th right now, except for police cars that are going into the memorial service. West Carnegie in front of Progressive Field is shut down, and first responders always back each other up. You can see the fire department just minutes ago placed the American flag in the center of Carnegie that the procession will actually actually go through. And, you know, everyone sees the American flag. It drapes the officer's casket throughout the service, throughout the procession. Before the final burial, the flag is ceremonially folded into a triangular shape and presented to the family. This you've seen in military tradition. And I'm not sure if you know this, but the triangular fold has roots dating back centuries and represents the cockade, which was the hat worn by Revolutionary War soldiers. And the folding method connects the ceremony to America's military heritage and the long tradition we have of honoring those who serve. And the flag presentation serves as a tangible symbol that the family can keep, and it represents their loved one's service to the community and their country. And just in case you haven't seen, all the way down East 9th Street, there are red, white, and blue, and then blue ribbons tied to the trees to welcome this procession all the way down where they will turn into on Boulevard and go into Rocket Arena for the memorial service. So already you can tell that there is a very, very somber feel already, and you can also tell that everyone is right. Sergeant Vogler is right. Lindsay is right. We're seeing SWAT vehicles lining the right side of the road from all over the state already. There are several cities here represented and from out of state as well. And Randy, can you take a look at this? I want to show you these uniforms. Everyone here is in their dress uniforms. These dress uniforms are very, very important. And I want you to notice the blue line on the side of the pants. That is the blue line that everyone talks about, the thin blue line, and that represents the separation between calm and chaos with what the police represent. And also, just a little bit of history, it also comes from the British soldiers' uniform from when they were in battle in the Crimean War. So there is representation there that goes back history, you know, in history, and that's what it's for. I also want you to know that the officers have to buy these uniforms themselves, and they are an incredibly expensive uniform. So they are wearing these uniforms out of the utmost respect for their brother in blue. And this means so much for the family, and this means so much for them to be here at this memorial service. And again, for the folks in Lorain, as David had mentioned earlier, the Lorain Sheriff's Department is taking over. They have the community's back. They are taking over for the police department, so the 130 members of the Lorain Police Department can be here to you know, represent and pay their respects to the Wagner family and Officer Phillip Wagner. Back to you.
True brotherhood.
Yeah.
No question. Excellent insight there. Monica Robbins live for us downtown, and we saw the traffic and what is happening live there downtown. But for more, let's head over to Brissa Bradfield. How are we looking downtown traffic-wise, Brissa?
Well, downtown, things are starting to definitely slow down, as we just heard from Monica there. But right now, we are really starting to see a slowdown on Lorain right before folks get onto 480, which to me sounds like that procession is just about to get onto 480 and head into those eastbound lanes for them to travel on through downtown. Now, we don't know the exact route on how they're planning on getting off of 480 and into downtown. But again, most of that slowdown that we are seeing right here is off of Lorain before we get onto 480. That red means most cars are completely stopped right now. Again, indicating to me that the procession is making its way onto 480 so it can get into those eastbound lanes and make its way through down. And of course, once it gets to downtown, there are several road closures all throughout near Rocket Arena. So a heads up for drivers passing through that area. We do want to head on over to Annabelle Childers now, who is outside of Liston, outside of that memorial home right now.
Hey, Brissa. Well, we have watched the funeral procession leave this area. Now it is a more quiet scene as we watch people pack up their lawn chairs and their American flags in order to go back to their homes and continue following this coverage. It was a very emotional morning, and we were impressed to see the amount of people that showed up. I knew that this was going to be a more intimate procession than the police escort that we saw on Friday, with a lot of different law enforcement enforcement agencies present. But still this morning, just so many Lorain police officers that showed up, and then community members who wanted to be here and show their support.
Okay, Annabelle Childers, thank you very much at Liston Funeral Home, where the procession began, about 30 minutes or so ago.
Yeah.
Sergeant Todd Vogler, as we said earlier, you've been in law enforcement since 1996. We can show the officer. There he is, Sergeant Vogler right there. We appreciate you coming in. You've been in law enforcement since 1996, and we all discuss this in our personal lives. It's the fragility of life.
Yeah.
And I wonder, you also teach police officers. How do you instill that? What things do you say to police officers who obviously every day go out not knowing how that day is going to end?
Well, when I teach in the academy, truthfully, it's kind of invigorating to me, because you can see, I call them kids. They're not kids, they're adults, right? But they're all out there, and they're so they're so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. They haven't been beat up by life yet. And it's so really, when I teach them, it's kind of, I walk out of the classroom going, wow, I feel better. Let's go get those bad guys, right? But when you talk to them about this event, and how this can change your perspective on a lot of things. But I've actually gone so far as to I've had one or two recruits that I wanted to try to instill what was actually taking place, and so I had them write a letter, almost an obituary. If you have them write their own, there's something with a learning process when you put pen to parchment. There's something with the learning process when somebody writes something down, right? And so I had two recruits that they just weren't picking up what I was putting down. They weren't smelling what I was stepping in, right? So I actually have them write down a farewell letter to their mother and to their spouse, kind of drives home, and I say, this is the risk at hand. You accept this risk every time you go to work. And you have to appreciate the fact that there's other people that are going to be paying that price. I've always believed that the biggest people who have accepted most of the abuse of my choice of occupation has always been my family, my wife, my daughter. They are the ones that pay the price, the deepest, not you. So, because they choose to love you, and now you're making a decision that will forever affect them as well. And think about it. When I go to third shift, honestly, how many women do you know are willing to sleep alone in bed for months on end so that you can go to work and make other people feel safe? The true applause goes to them.
Yeah.
To those feel. But you have to drive home that message sometimes, and that's some of the ways I do it.
And one of the things that came out of this, an officer was speaking about, with the increase, like so many officers being killed in the line of duty, and we're hearing it more and more and more. Russ said we keep doing these things that are happening. How do you share with the officers? How has that changed the mentality, the atmosphere, that it's more of an attack on police officers now?
Well, society's become a lot more aggressive towards police work. We've seen, it was several presidents ago, we've started to see more conflict. What we're seeing with officers is we're seeing a different applicant.
Okay.
We're seeing a different person that stays in police work. And before, the vast majority of people would leave police work within 3 to 5 years. If somebody is past 5 years, they're pretty hardcore dedicated to our fraternal experience. And so before, you really didn't have that. Now you do, because the ones that are really doing this now, it's in their bloodline. We talk about the thin blue line, and we talk about the bloodline on the pants, but I think a lot of officers now look at, we tell people the thin blue line is the line that we walk between chaos and an ordered structure society. If you talk to officers that have been in this business for, that thin blue line, that's my family crest. And so that's how we got to look at it. So I think you're seeing a different applicant now. I think you're going to see in 5 years, if they're still in the business, if they're not emotionally exhausted, you're going to see somebody who's very dedicated to our concepts, to our ideas.
Takes a special person, no doubt. I want to address this again for those who might just be joining us. Russ asked you about it being at Rocket Arena, and your answer about the fact that he was ambushed, and that is why you think that there will be more people.
Yes, very much so. Once again, if somebody's not even given a fighting chance, it's like your heart really pours out to them. I'd be very surprised if we don't see officers as far away as Cincinnati, as far away as Detroit. I would not exclude Canada from showing up today. I wouldn't exclude that idea. When they're doing the venue, that's because they've gotten so many phone calls The police department, the day after, if you call, their desk sergeant, their receptionist is getting so many phone calls, and that's how they gauge where to hold the venue.
If we can go back to that shot of the flag there at Carnegie near Progressive Field, I want to point out a couple of things that are happening today that are different from other funerals of police officers we have seen of late. As we've just pointed out, as Dave and Danita and the sergeant just pointed out, this will take place at Rocket Arena. What happens many times during these ceremonies, when the hearse gets to the location of the actual funeral, there is a procession, there is a ceremony of the coffin being taken out of the hearse. What is going to happen here today? This is what we were told yesterday. Rocket Arena has a downstairs basement. It's where the athletes park. Dave, you would know this.
Dave knows.
I've been there a few times.
You've been there. It's where the athletes park. It gives you direct access to the floor of the arena. What is going to happen is once the hearse arrives at Rocket Arena, it will go inside that garage. There will be no cameras allowed in there for live pictures. So if there is a ceremony like that there, you will not see it live. And police tell us that is not necessarily for privacy's sake, but it's just for logistics' sake. It is the best way to get the coffin inside the arena and get the family in there as well. Sergeant Vogler, as you look at this today, you talked about the families and what happens later. One of the things that you do is you counsel families. I heard from a sister of a fallen police officer yesterday who said something that you pointed out earlier. Right now, there's a lot of attention on this. They're getting a lot of support, but this goes away really quickly. That's the hardest part.
It goes about a week, maybe 10 days. Before you know it, the flags will go back up to full staff. The ribbons will come down off the light poles. The T-shirt sales for the fundraiser for the family. We'll see an uptick in sales on our webpage to support the memorial. But about a week or 10 days, all that will start going away. And now it's quiet. And when it's quiet, that's when your mind will start realizing that last Christmas was the last Christmas. And the next birthday party, he won't be there. And it's not 1 year. It will take years for that family to accept the new norm, if you will.
And when things like this happen, other families who've been touched by this in the same way,
Yes.
do they come together?
Yeah.
Do they reach out?
Well, we actually have a representative in the Greater Cleveland Police Officers Memorial Society that will reach out to that and say, I'm a mother of one of our officers that were slain, and let them know that they're not alone. And there's something when you know that you're not alone. There's something with the healing process that helps that. I don't know if you're never going to recover. You just accept what the new norm is, because you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
It's either you can waller forever or try to accept the new norm. And the healthiest thing is just try. This is what life has dished me right now.
Yeah, and move on the best way you know how.
Best as you can.
Best as you can. Yeah.
We're going to head back out to downtown on East 9th Street. Monica Robbins. Monica, what can you tell us now?
Well, Dave, I just finished talking to a few of the SWAT members who, again, like I said, on the right side of the street on East 9th, all of the SWAT vehicles are lined up with their lights on, and a number of the SWAT members are just standing outside of their vehicles waiting for the procession to come by. And, you know, I talked to them about the importance of being here, and it's very solemn. They're very emotional, and, you know, they couldn't think of any other reason why they wouldn't be here. They need to be here. This is so important for them. I also talked to some of the firefighters, and they feel the same way. This is something that they have to do. Not that they want to do, obviously, but they have to do. They have to show their respect to the family, and they have to show their respect to the profession, and obviously they have to show their respect to Officer Wagner. A couple other things I want to talk to you about. You know, you'll see this when the memorial service starts to take place around 11 o'clock, but, you know, the color guard, you're going to see them walk in and carry the flag. There's the honor guard and the color guard. They have broader ceremonial duties. The color guard has a specific focus. They'll be presenting and protecting the national flag and other organizational colors during ceremonies. They work together, but they have distinct responsibilities. The other thing most of us have always seen, the bagpipes. You can't ever miss the bagpipes. But there's some history behind the bagpipes. They've become a significant feature at police funerals and memorial services, and the roots trace back to the mid-1800s when the Irish and Scottish immigrants found work in police and fire departments, and these communities brought their cultural traditions, including bagpipe music, to their new roles. And what you might remember is the Great Potato Famine. Massive numbers of immigrants came to the East Coast, and there were jobs that were very, very hard to find, and the immigrants took whatever work was available, and those included the dirty and dangerous work, and believe it or not, those positions were often firefighting and police work that other people avoided. So Celtic people have played bagpipes at funerals, weddings, and wakes and other events for centuries, and when one of their own was killed in the line of duty, bagpipes provided a comforting touch of home and familiarity, and the haunting tones and the solemn sounds often trigger deep remembrance and emotion, and it doesn't matter if you're Irish or Scottish, it impacts all of us. And they also have a very, very long military tradition, particularly in Scottish and Irish regiments, where they were used to boost morale during battles, to honor the fallen soldiers, and obviously the sound of the bagpipe is used to honor people, and it's associated with solemnity, tradition, and grandeur, and it always makes them fitting for honoring this deceased. And that is why you hear the bagpipe, and why anytime you hear Amazing Grace, everyone who hears that song gets choked up. It doesn't matter who you are. I've been at several of these services and memorial services, and anytime you hear the Cleveland pipes and drum or the firefighter pipes and drum and they play this, it's just incredible. What you're seeing now is the procession is now coming in. The motorcycle unit is coming through. You can see the SWAT unit leading. The hearse will be coming. I'm just going to step out of the way and let this proceed. Obviously, you can see there's a number, all of these vehicles in the beginning, all Lorain police vehicles. The hearse has already gone past us, already heading into the tunnel underneath Rocket Arena. Multitude of Lorain police vehicles. Like I said, there were 130 officers who are attending this memorial service today. All of their lights in blue. A lot of people are wondering why police lights are in blue and red. The obvious reason, red always indicates emergency. Blue lights were added in the 60s and 70s because, for a couple of reasons. One, they're easier to see in the daylight.
Monica, as we check right now.
Two, people with color blindness can see them.
Pardon me, Monica. Thank you for that insight. We just wanted to point out here, we were talking about the tunnel where the hearse and other vehicles are going in underneath Rocket Arena. This is what we were talking about right here. This is, again, right next to the arena. It's where the athletes park, dignitaries who go into the arena, and this was done, we were told, to give better access to police officers and the pallbearers to take the coffin, the body of Officer Wagner, inside the arena.
And Sergeant Vogler, you were talking to us a little minute ago, something I didn't know about the structure. You know, we may think that you said these are just cars, but there's a structure to how this is all happening, even to the speed at which it's happening.
So when a bunch of vehicles get on a freeway, it's kind of like a big accordion. So it's hard for one car to stay, you know, tight towards the previous car. So most processions on the highway, they're not 100%. They're not in a rush. You know, it's a day for the family. It's a day for Lorain. They're not in a rush. And so normally on the highway, you'll see them go somewhere between 35 and 45. The motorcycles usually lead the way. SWAT was there. It makes sense because when you don't know who to call, you call the police, right? When we don't know who to call, we call SWAT. So SWAT's lead the road, and that's a big, heavy piece of equipment. It's going to take a little time for that piece of equipment to even get up to 45 miles an hour, right? But there's a lot of structure that's taking place. You don't realize it just because you see the procession. You see everybody on the side of the road, but there's a lot of dispatchers talking to each other, letting know where the procession is. One agency is just rolling from one agency to another, and their officers are talking to each other on the radio. We have what's called a Learn channel where they share traffic.
Everyone has their reason for an emotion today. We're talking about a person here, an avid gamer, a baseball and a hockey fan. This was a person that lost his life too soon. I think immediately of my daughters. I get a tear in my eye. I look over to you. When that procession came in behind Monica, what was your first reaction?
Well, this has been an emotional day for me as well. Don't be fooled, right? But when you see another officer coming to their final resting place, there's a lot that's going on emotionally with every officer that's there. We are human, and it's quite the toll when you see a brother or sister in blue finally being given their last respects, their last rights, if you will. So it's tough on all of us.
Dave, as you mentioned, of course, this is a human being. We're talking about it affects us all. Let's kind of just kind of piggybacking on what you were saying there. Dave, Officer Phillip Wagner, 35 years old, from North Ridgeville, father of 3. He and his wife married for 10 years. A Marine veteran, and somebody pointed out to me last week, you were never an ex-Marine. You were always a Marine, so I'm sure there'll be a big Marine presence there.
There's only 3 types of Marines: a former Marine, an active Marine, and a dead Marine. There's no such thing as an ex-Marine. You'll offend a Marine pretty quick.
Of course.
If you call him an ex-Marine.
No such thing. I'm sure there'll be a large Marine presence there as well today. Dave, as you pointed out, he was a gamer, a baseball and a hockey fan. We pointed out the fact a few minutes ago that he had just received his SWAT pin, which was a big accomplishment for him 2 days before this happened. And you were saying, once again, this is being held at Rocket Mortgage Field last week. If you're just joining us, and we've talked about this stuff before, but it bears repeating. This is different from other police services we have seen. This is open to the public at a large venue, Rocket Arena. And you were saying, Sergeant Vogel, you think part of that is you think the outpouring of support from the community and others will be actually larger this time because of the way that Officer Wagner was killed.
Yeah, I mean, when a guy's just sitting in his cruiser eating his lunch, he's taking a break, he's with a colleague, and you have somebody with a rifle from a distance. It's a cowardly attack. It's a vicious attack with prior calculation. So that person put time into making sure that rifle was zeroed. He took time in loading the magazines. There was prior calculation that took place there, and this guy, all he was doing was just eating his lunch. So that drives home the very idea that this could happen to any one of us and that we have to stand in solidarity. And so I think you're going to see a larger response from the law enforcement community locally and beyond. And that's probably why they're using the arena there.
What would you suggest people do? Today, we see all this support, but what is the person who's watching right now? I want to make a difference. I want to help. This has impacted me. What is something community members can do moving forward? Well,
there's a couple of things you could do. One is try to be a little bit more active in your community. There's a concept of giving. Mm-hmm. I think charity work is very important, and I don't think you'd necessarily have to donate to this charity or the other. Donating blood is fantastic. As long as you're doing something to tend to your community, I think that you're helping out. As far as us, If you want to help that family, I'm sure that there's a T-shirt thing that they're doing, a fundraiser, where all the proceeds go to the family. I want to say that pre-sale ends in 9 days, I think. If you want to help the law enforcement community as a whole, you can join the Greater Cleveland Police Officers Memorial Society, buy a T-shirt, buy one of our paving bricks. It's nice that the memorial here in Cleveland is the second largest memorial in the United States, second only to the National Memorial. And it's nice that you can have this holy, noble crusade as much as you want, but the bottom line is, you can't pay the taxes, you might as well turn the keys over to the county, right? So when we started the memorial back in the early 80s, we never thought we'd ever fill up 3 pillars. We recently had to do a remodel to add 2 more pillars onto it. So it costs money, right? So you can join GC Palms, you can participate in your local community as well.
But we don't want to forget the other 2 officers. We don't want to forget the other 2 officers who were injured there. Officer Brent Payne was released from Metro Health on Saturday. Officer Peter Gale was recovering after he was shot in the hand. One thing about Officer Payne that we talked about last week, but says a lot about the brotherhood, sisterhood here, is they were both in the hospital, Officer Payne and Officer Wagner. Officer Payne was being treated. Officer Wagner had passed away. As they were taking Officer Wagner's body out of Metro Health, Officer Payne, who again was going through his own issues at that point, insisted that he be taken out in the hall so he could stand with his fellow officers to say goodbye to Officer Wagner. That is an amazing show of support.
Testament to the brotherhood. Testament to the brotherhood.
It's a testament also to his character.
Yeah.
The honor and integrity that he wanted to show his brother, it's noteworthy, absolutely noteworthy.
Yeah.